Today I'm going to talk you through 10 cars that I think look incredibly good for under £20,000. It's that simple. Do hit like if you want to see more videos like this. Subscribe as well if you're one of the 72% of people watching this right now who isn't. Let's get straight into it. Let's kick this video off with the Mercedes SEC, which was actually the second generation S-Class and an ancestor to the stunning Mercedes S-Class coupes we see today as an OG Grand Tourer. It's such an interesting looking car. It can look quite average in a boring spec or ridiculously baller when done right. Outside and in, it looks like something that an organised crime boss would cruise around in on weekends when the dirty work is done. In 500 spec, it came with a 5-litre V8 engine which makes 262 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 7.9 seconds, decent for an old cruiser. These remind me of both the BMW E30 and the BMW 8 series with the boxy looks and pillarless window design, which gives the car such a unique shape. I think it lends itself to a few tasteful mods too to really enhance those looks. These start at around 10k, and double that will get you a high mileage 1989 model in good condition, and as these are already classics, there's plenty of verbiage online to help you care for them, plus they're from a time of better Mercedes quality control anyway. I honestly think the Abarth 124 Spider is a lovely looking little roadster manufactured by Mazda for the Fiat brand. It's related to the 4th generation Mazda MX-5, and even though I think that's a nice looking car, the Abarth is just a different level, bringing classic Italian roadster stylings to the modern era, a certified head turner. It's got the smallest engine on the list, a 1.4 litre turbocharged inline-4 block that makes 167 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 6.6 seconds, so by no means is it crazy fast, but the looks certainly make up for that. Part of the reason why it's so pretty is originally it was going to be an Alfa Romeo, with FCA deciding Alfa should be built in Italy, switching the agreement with Mazda over to Fiat instead, with Abarth then taking it up a notch. £17,000 is enough to get you into one of these, and 20k gets you a 2019 example with 9,000 miles on the clock, making it the newest car on the list. There are a couple of known issues with the engines on them, but broadly owners haven't had major issues, so you'd just be getting a bit unlucky if you got a lemon. I'm a huge fan of rally inspired cars, and more specifically rally inspired looks, flary bits, wide wheel arches and a race ready shape, all easy ways to describe the Mk1 Focus RS. This fast forward was built around the same time the legendary Colin McRae was bashing the real rally version around stages the world over, so the fact that this resembles that rally car is a great starting point. They come with a turbocharged 2-litre inline-4 engine that makes 215 brake horsepower, taking them to 60 in 6.2 seconds, not bad for a front-wheel drive hot hatch of its age. This was a welcome return for the RS badge after it disappeared with the Escort RS Cosworth, and it was incredibly well equipped, with all the important brands involved like Quaife for the diff, Garrett for the turbo, Brembo for the brakes, and Sparco for the seats, etc. Also, they're exclusively in blue, so there's also that. The cheapest one I could find was listed for £13,500, and 20k should get you into a 2003 model with around 65,000 miles on the clock. Leaking head gaskets are the main catastrophic issues with them. Outside of that, owners talk a lot about their reliability. I always try to keep bias out of my YouTube videos as best as possible, sticking to the facts and interesting did you knows, but please let me go full bias mode on you for a second by mentioning the Alfa Romeo 156 GTA Sportwagon. And I mean specifically the Sportwagon, as yes, the saloon is a lovely car, but finding a car that looks like the Sportwagon is a tough ask. Designed by Walter de Silva, the same man responsible for the Bugatti Veyron concept car, the Mk1 Audi R8, and the similarly stunning Alfa 147 GTA, I honestly think the 156 GTA Sportwagon is top 3 de Silva designs of all time. Now my one needs a lot of work to get it looking as pretty as it should, but it already turns heads out on the roads as it's so unique looking. And probably more importantly, these come with the sensational Busso 3.2 litre V6 engine, which makes 250 brake horsepower, taking them to 60 in 6.1 seconds, decent for the old barge. These start at around the 10k mark, and for under 20k you'll find later examples, but they are super rare, probably only around 30 original UK examples or less left out on the roads, as so many have succumbed to rust problems specifically. They're also known for electrical issues, but that Busso is on another level. Another hugely influential and successful automotive designer is Ian Callum, who for a time led design at both Aston Martin and Jaguar simultaneously. He is the mastermind behind the Jaguar F-Type S, which took the Jaguar XK's position as the brand's flagship sports car come Grand Tourer, but made it even more exotic feeling. What's crazy though is that with the recent erosion of JLR values thanks to insurance troubles and the rest, these have fallen to within our price range. The non-S is obviously even cheaper, but I think it's worth getting yourself an S with some slightly more flary looks and a bit more performance. performance. That'll mean you get a 3-litre supercharged V6 engine that makes 374 brake horsepower, taking this car to 60 in 4.8 seconds, so we've jumped forwards quite a bit. It comes as both a coupe and convertible, and though the convertible looks a bit less pretty with the soft top roof up, when it goes down it's a different story. It's reminiscent of a classic Jaguar race car. They'll run you around £17,500 at the bottom end, and 20k will get you a 2013 model with 60k on the clock. The active exhausts are probably the most common problem I could find on forums. Outside of that, it's not typically a car that fails catastrophically. So I hope you guys are enjoying this video. If you are, then do hit the like button and subscribe as well if you're new. And let me know in the comments down below, what is your personal favourite looking car for under 20 grand? The Maserati Granturismo S came with the facelift for the car, with a slightly larger engine, more power, and slightly fresher, more angular looks, still made possible by the ridiculously talented people at Pininfarina. It was in fact Jason Castriotto who designed the car, the same man responsible for the Ferrari 599 and SSC Tuatara. But even more impressive, he only had a short amount of time to design the pre-facelift Gran Turismo, given Ferrari took the original designs to be used for the California, so this was a quick turnaround, yet it still looks this good. And I do prefer the more angular looks of the facelifts, which maybe points to there being a bit more time to get the car penned up. These come with the same engine as the Alfa Romeo 8C, a Ferrari 4.7-litre V8 block attached to the F1 automated manual gearbox, making 433 brake horsepower, taking him to 60 in 4.7 seconds. £18,000 is enough to get you into one of these, and 20k will get you a 2009 model with 60k on it. Mechanically, they're also supposed to be pretty solid, with the main problems coming from the electricals. The old Top Gear cool wall cemented the Aston Martin DB9 as one of the coolest cars of all time, as it was considered so cool it surpassed Sub-Zero and got its own fridge. And they weren't wrong, this thing is absolutely magnificent, especially for the money. I might even hazard it's the best looking car you can get for under 20k, and it comes from a time where Callum was in charge of things down at the Aston Martin design team. This car was never a Bond car, but I think if it was, it wouldn't be a surprise based on its looks, and it would not be a 20k car. These come with a naturally aspirated 5.9-litre V12 engine, making 450 brake horsepower, taking them to 60 in 4.7 seconds, pretty good for a Grand Tourer. It's not just a great looking car either, its platform went on to be used for the Rapide, DBS, Vantage, Virage and Vanquish. £14,500 was the lowest that I could find these listed for, and 20k will get you a 2005 model with 60,000 miles on the clock. They're actually not supposed to be too bad on reliability, but the parts that do go wrong cost an absolute fortune to replace, and some known issues like corroding transmission cooler pipes can be very frustrating. I thought about putting the Porsche 911 996 Carrera 4S into this video with its wide wheel arches and long light at the rear, but plenty of people don't like the headlights, and others will tell you the interiors are old and nasty. I won't say that, but to appease that audience, I thought let's go for the next best thing, a Porsche 911 997 Carrera S, which has those more traditional circular headlights combined with a traditional 911 shape to make a car that I think looks just as modern today as it did the day it left the factory. These came with a 3.8-litre flat 6 engine that makes 350 brake horsepower, taking him to 60 in 4.6 seconds, which is pretty quick for a car one level up from the base 911. In reality, these 997.1s are very similar cars to 996s, just with a greater focus on 911 tradition as I mentioned. Even the interiors are more similar to the classic 911s than the 996, which was trying to propel the car into the modern era. The one tradition that was not reinstated was air cooling though, of course. These start at the 16.5k mark, and 20k will get you into a 2004 model with 85,000 miles on the clock. The issues on these are well known too, IMS bearing failure and bore scoring being the scary ones. Whether you go for a coupe or convertible, the E92 BMW M3 is a ridiculously good looking car in my opinion, made even better by the fact that it has a great sounding V8, if a little aggressive on fuel and reliability. In coupe spec, the flowing lines over that carbon fibre roof are absolutely stunning, matched with that beefy lower half, whereas the convertible looks great with its more angular hardtop roof, but when that roof drops, this thing looks almost like the German take of an American muscle car. That 4-litre V8 is also pretty reminiscent of muscle cars, putting out 414 brake horsepower, taking them to 60 in 4.6 seconds, matching the 911. This M3 will go down in history because of that V8, and they also got the DCT automatic transmission. Having reviewed one of these on the channel thanks to the team at Motorland, I was absolutely blown away by how analog they felt even with the DCT box, and the sound is just sublime. The interiors look a bit old, but really they're a brilliant car to cruise around in. Check out my review for more info. 12 grand is the minimum I could find these listed for, and for £20,000 you're getting a 2011 model with 40,000 miles on the clock. Taking the top spot is the most aggressive version of a car that won multiple design awards on release. It's the Audi RS5 from the first generation A5. This car was built to take on the M3 we just spoke about, but flew a little more under the radar. It doesn't have the history of the M3 badge, and there are other fast Audis you'd probably consider before you go down the RS5 route, namely the RS4 and RS6. This is the middle sibling then, but in this case it's probably the best looking, again designed by Walter de Silva. These come with a 4.2 litre V8 engine making 443 brake horsepower, taking them to 60 in 4.5 seconds, helped by this being the only all-wheel drive car on the list. Rather than the Mark 1 R8's 4.2 litre V8 block, this engine is more similar to the 5.2 litre V10 you'll find in the beastier R8, just with 2 cylinders removed. Given the RS5 is just more aggressive all around, they really do look stunning, if a little bit under the radar out on the roads, with the main telltale signs being the alloys and RS badging. They start at around £13,000 and 20k gets you a facelifted 2014 model with 40,000 miles on the clock. So there you have it, 10 great looking cars for under 20k. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks to patrons for their support and to you guys as well for watching. And I click on screen to see some of my own great looking car.